right, y'all. Welcome to the Better Marriage Daily podcast, where we talk about loving each other in spite of each other. And I'm Sean.
And I'm V.
And we're here to talk about some stuff. So, the last episode we were talking about all kinds of stuff, but I realized that I didn't give my sort of like origin story. So let's start there. So my story is pretty interesting in that, well, to me, it's pretty interesting in that I grew up in a like my dad is one of 14 kids, and my mom is one of 3. So that dynamic in the household playing out in my parents was very interesting. My dad, family oriented, so we were in the country every weekend, going and hanging out with all my cousins. I have a very huge extended family. Very huge extended family. And so it's always about family, always about doing stuff with family, going every weekend. And my mom's side wasn't that much interaction with cousins because, my aunt had one son, my other aunt had no kids. So it was just, me and my cousin Reggie, we were like brothers. We grew up together 6 months apart, 6 weeks apart.
6 weeks.
I'm sorry. 6 weeks apart. Yeah, we got luck. We go back to, doing selfies in the crib, in the baby chairs.
Wow.
We up there posted up against a tree. Both of us.
Wow.
So we grew up together, man. So that was pretty cool. But then on my dad's side, it's like a whole bunch of people. So family has always been huge for me. But like I was saying in the other episodes, that but I also did see dysfunction, and I'd like to say that. Thinking about marriage like it's supposed to be perfect. We said that a while ago. It'll never be perfect, but it can be perfect for you. It can be perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
I realized sometime after college, in between college and when I met you, is that I thought I was unique with the dysfunction in my family.
Okay.
I did. I straight up, I thought I was unique. I thought, first of all, I didn't see it as dysfunction.
When you are a kid, you don't even know to see things as dysfunctional.
Right.
You just don't. I mean, it's life, and that's what you're used to, and you think, you don't think much about that because you're a kid. You don't know.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm an adult, and I'm still not seeing. I understand some of it is dysfunction after I, start taking the psychology classes and stuff like that.
Right.
I understand some of it is dysfunction, but I thought that my life was pretty tame because I knew people who didn't have a great home life at all. So I was very aware early on that I was blessed because I had both parents in the home, and I had the quote unquote basic family.
Right.
Taken care of and everything, because I knew a lot of people who didn't have both parents in the house.
Two-parent home, yeah.
I knew about all of that, but, and then people was like, man, I wish my dad was in the house. I was like, well, do you? Because, because you can have them in the house and it not be what you think it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so that I grew up knowing that, but just thinking that most people had pretty much a cool childhood. And then, you get to college and you start talking to people from all different kinds of backgrounds, and not, when I say backgrounds, I don't mean neighborhoods. I mean backgrounds as in their particular family.
Right.
Because I know people with a whole bunch of money, whose families were totally dysfunctional. I know people with no money who had great houses, great homes, and were totally well adjusted,
yes.
Nothing but love in the house. So just individual situations. And so whenever I realized that, I said, well, everybody's dysfunctional.
Everyone. But it takes you growing older to get that and going out into the world, to get that information.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, okay, cool. So I'm dealing with myself because I'm always like to make sure, is it me? Is it me? Is it me, or am I tripping, or, so I'm constantly asking myself those types of questions. So getting in relationships, early on, I guess I kind of dealt with them through the filter of what I saw. So I always wanted to make sure that I presented myself to be who I am, and if I'm cutting for you, if I want to be in a relationship with you, then, I express that early.
Right.
And, at 19 and 20, that ain't what they're trying to hear.
No.
They really ain't trying to hear that. And I'm thinking, well, I'm wanting to be upfront and honest. Look, I think we could kick it. Let's try to figure this thing out. And that would scare people away, and I was like, wow. So I got to lie. And I didn't lie. And so I took a lot of hits, in my in my late teens, early 20s.
Because you were so honest.
Because I was so honest, but I didn't want to let that change me and make me dishonest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so probably around 20, what I said in the first episode or first or second episode, I realized that women just want you to be honest because as you know, I like older women.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I always did like
Mm-hmm.
I always did like older women. So girls. And so in talking to these older women, they'd be like, look, hey man, hey, this is what I'm here for.
Right.
This is it. I say, well, you appreciate us. They're like, yeah, I can't stand people lying to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And here's the other disclaimer. I also realized that when I realized that, I used that to the fullest extent that I could.
How so?
Well,
what does that look like?
What does that look like? Since we're really transparent here,
Yeah.
what it looks like is I am able to. It looks like it looked when we got together. I was,
but they don't know.
Right. So I was able to be like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, right? These are the people that I'm dealing with, person I'm dealing with, whatever I got going on, totally transparent. Mm-hmm. This is what's happening. We're not exclusive. We're just kicking it.
Right.
But like we said earlier, kicking it
can lead to marriage. Quite possibly lead to marriage.
And so I would just that I started doing that, but God showed me later on that is still a form of manipulation, because I knew very good and well that if we stayed in a relationship long enough, they could potentially get feelings that were further along than kicking it, right? But I wasn't.
Right.
I wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna like you, and I get to know you, and I like you even more.
Right.
But my thing was, and it was a safeguard. I was so wrong for this. Oh my God. I would be like, listen, what we talking about right now is where I am, and that's not gonna change for me. We're gonna stay right here. And if it comes to a point where you feel differently, then we can reassess and reevaluate, come back to this, and then see if we still feel the same, because I don't ever want to lead you on and be, have you thinking that I'm somewhere that I'm not. So if at any point you start catching feelings, let me know and we can talk about it.
Right.
But they never let me know.
But I appreciate that, though.
That's why we here.
There are so
can
many
lead to marriage.
women who appreciate that. So many women who appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that is not, our experiences. Ooh, man, people just lie for no reason. I mean, Yeah. And if you are upfront and you're transparent and you've had all these discussions, well, that's just something that the woman or the other party, because these things do happen.
Every relationship.
In every relationship, that's just something that they have to deal with. If they got caught slipping.
And that's, we called it.
But I gambled on that. I appreciated that, that you were, we were kicking it. We understood what we were doing. And if I got caught up and you didn't feel the same way about me, then I took a gamble, but I wasn't expecting what happened.
Right. Yeah. So, so that was my biggest thing. I was just like, hey, I was using that because it worked so well, And I'm assuming that's how it's working today because of the lack of men who either want to commit or able to commit or want to be in a relationship with a woman. I don't know how that's going. So y'all can comment in the comment section and talk about that, and we can address that a little bit more later on. But for me, I've always loved the human woman in all of their forms, all of your forms. So I was just enjoying life, and I just love just getting to know women and different types of women, and that was really cool. I was like, this is awesome. But I've always wanted to be in a relationship. Like I always knew that I was going to be a great husband.
Right.
In my mind.
In your mind.
In my mind.
In your mind. Okay.
In my mind. In my mind. In my mind. But in person, in actual relationships, I guess I was, because the relationships with those women would always end up being something that they wanted to renegotiate.
Oh, okay.
Or they wouldn't say anything and then charge me for them changing and me not.
Right. Which is really not fair, but
it's not. But it ain't like I didn't notice.
Right. You knew.
So like I said, I use that as a crutch. I use that as an out. So I'm wrong. I'm wrong for that. I realize I'm wrong for that. But the principle of be honest,
yes,
is something that I would suggest to you guys out there, even if you're married. Because let's talk about that. So, because wait, more about me. So in my and if you're from this city, and if you're not, then I'm being really really transparent. My home life wasn't bad by no means, right? Wasn't bad by no means, but there was some infidelity, at one point in their relationship, and me seeing that and seeing what it did to the house, I vowed to myself that I would be nothing like I would be nothing like that in my relationships. So whenever I wasn't married, then I was just free.
Right.
When I was in a relationship, I was in a relationship like I was married. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
With the caveat that if it went crazy, then I wasn't married. Then I was free to do whatever it is I wanted to do.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But once we got to the marriage point, I understood, and I told you, and I articulated that very clearly. So all those other relationships led up to me being able to be totally upfront and honest with you in every single way. And you had no other button but honesty.
That's true.
Raw,
yeah.
bone-crushing, heartbreaking honesty.
Yes.
Was what came from V.
Yes.
At all times.
At all times.
With no filter.
Yeah. No filter. Man.
Yeah. Hurt somebody's feelings in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Yeah. And Better Marriage Daily Podcast is sponsored by Drums Earwear. And I'm going to read this because I want to get it right. It's the pioneering Black-owned, woman-founded earphone company in the U.S., the first one, y'all. Their mission is to empower audio enthusiasts to safeguard their hearing, reducing the risk of noise-induced hearing loss by delivering high-quality, high-health-conscious audio products that allow for a profound understanding of audio at safe volume levels. Now, don't get it twisted. We put these things on, they jam. Right?
It's jamming.
What was your first thought when you put them on?
It's like, wow, it's so clear. But the one thing is that I didn't feel like my ears were hurting.
Right.
Yeah. They're isolated enough to where I don't have to raise the volume up. You don't need to raise the volume up.
Right.
To hear and hear well. And I can hear everything in the music.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because they got a lot of low end. So if you listen to music with a lot of low end, a lot of 808s, a lot of bottom, a lot of bass, man, it rumbles. But it's not an offensive rumble, and I can't even turn them all the way up. So Drums Earwear, founded by Dr. Lena Joseph Ford. She's an audiologist from New Orleans, Louisiana. Listen, y'all holla at her. They also have the in-ears. They got the wireless buds, and they have a great microphone on them. Noise cancellation. They have active noise cancellation on these things, which then once you put that button on, it takes the music to a whole nother level. So Drums Earwear, y'all go check them out at drumsworld.com. So then by the time I get to her, we're talking and I explain, that I'm dealing with, this person and that person. At the time, okay, so first of all, it was only two people. I said only. It sounds so bad. It was only two people. And then she had somebody in her life. And I was like, cool. Okay, so cool. We can just kick it. Mm-hmm. So we kicking it. And at some point, I noticed, ladies, this is, if you can figure out how to do this, if you should want to be in a relationship with another person.
A cheat code? Is there a cheat code?
That's a cheat code.
Okay. Cheat code. All right.
Ladies, if you can figure this out. I remember sitting in between her legs, and I said something so stupid. I verbalized it because, the way our relationship was set up, I understood she was in a very, very testosterone-laden industry. So it wasn't many things I could say to her that she hadn't heard before. And because our relationship was so open and we knew about what we were doing when we weren't together, I felt comfortable enough, which, I apologized for it later, but she was like, I wasn't tripping. It was what it was. I ain't tripping. But I'm sitting between her hair, and believe it or not, she's playing with my curly locks.
Sitting between my legs while I'm playing in your hair?
Yes. Okay. Is that what I said? What I said?
A little bit different.
Sitting between her legs while she's playing in my curly locks. Yes?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's on the sofa, I'm on the floor, and she just talking, she leaning back, and she got her hand. I can see a picture like it's a movie. She's just playing in my hair and playing my hair. So you don't play with my hair anymore up here because I ain't got no hair? Is that what you said?
No,
is that
that's
why?
not it.
Is that why?
That's not it.
I miss your little bitty fingers on my head.
Sure. Okay.
And just stroking my little head. But anyway, so she was playing my hair, and I said, wow, this is crazy. Right now in my life, I got the perfect woman. Now, for most people, most women, if I'd have said that, they'd have closed their legs and popped me upside my head and pushed me further onto the floor.
Right. But I was different.
She was different.
Yeah, I was different.
Because I had to sit there and listen whenever she said some stuff that wasn't about me. I had to sit there and listen and tell you know what I'm saying? So it's cool. And so she, oh, really? I said, why you say that? I said, well, I got, this one that provides this for me. This one provides that for me. Primarily is giving me those vibes and this part of the thing that I need satisfied. I said, and you are my peace. And I didn't think nothing of that. And after I said that, that was the day when I told y'all I heard from the audible voice of God saying, so you've passed up your wife all these times, are you going to pass this one up as well? And it's because she was my peace. So if you can figure out how to be someone's peace, and I want to say specifically for a man, if you can be a man's peace and his sanctuary, he will fight heaven and earth and burn anything in the way of anything that could come against that.
Yeah.
And he won't know why if he's not elevated. He'll just know. And you know what? Because again, I grew up in the 70s.
Yeah.
Born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s. In the 80s, I was pretty much teen adult, right?
Right.
Teen to adult in the 80s. What I used to hear the older guys talk about, and what you probably saw in your reactions in your neighborhoods and in your social circles, was that a man was married to a woman, and the only person that didn't know he was cheating was his wife.
Right.
And it wasn't because he wasn't a bold person, because he was bold as hell.
I mean, he was bold.
But he was protecting the home because that was his peace.
Right.
It wasn't even about 50%. It wasn't even about her taking it. It was about, if he lost her, he'd be crushed. But he's still out there being stupid, spreading his seed around all creation.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I can't explain why that happens. I just think that some men just, by their upbringing, don't know how to commit at some level or be satisfied. But I believe if they can have it in their minds like me to say, look, when I get married, I'm committed to you. And if we can trust you, I think I'm talking through it, because I listen to these guys talk as well. And what happens is, you know how when you're in a relationship early on, how everything's all well and good, and you know the frequency of the coming together. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's regular, and however. And then once you get married, in some instances, y'all change. So I can even, if we probably interviewed some of those guys and we go, well, why did you feel the need to cheat? And they may have said something along the lines of, well, you know, I expressed to my wife what I wanted over and over and over, and then she wouldn't give it to me. And it's not like I don't love her and don't want to be with her, but I really want to do this. And she doesn't want to do that. Or she doesn't do it enough. She thinks once a month is fine. I need more than that, you know? And then he goes out and fixes it. And I think in his twisted way, he's fixing it so that he can have peace at home.
Right. Which is
messed up, cocked up, and rocked up.
That's really.
But if there's no communication.
Right. Yeah. That's really. Never thought about that.
Because full transparency.
Yeah.
I told you something messed up like that.
Right. You did.
What did I say?
I don't remember because it's been it was a journey. I don't really remember all that, but the thought that.
Well, I'll tell you. I remember what it was.
What?
Because I had to come in and apologize for it.
Okay, what was it?
So.
See, I just pushed that and.
That's what I'm saying.
I have the ability to do that without coming out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all see that face. So what had happened was when we first got married, like I said before, before we got married, it wasn't even a stressful thing. It was a thing when we were together, we were cool, and frequency was cool. Then she made me realize a point that she gave was, yeah, but I only saw you on weekends.
True.
She said,
not every weekend.
And not every weekend.
Yeah.
She said, so you can get your mind.
Right. Yeah. But.
Say what you said. I don't want to talk for you. We're just.
I froze now.
Yeah.
I'm.
You said,
back,
yeah, boy, but I had all week to get ready for it. I could get my mind ready for what.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And then it wasn't every weekend. So, you know, and we didn't live in this, number one, we didn't live in the same state.
Nope.
I mean, we didn't live in the same state. We were out still doing our own thing. So it was you know, all of those. And that's why I could tell you that, well, it's because we didn't see each other every day and all that too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what had happened was we were all cool. And like I said earlier, we almost didn't get married because I was like, hey, man, look. I was like, look, this is not working for me. And, you know, and she got me, y'all. She got me. She said, it's because I'm on Graveyard.
Mm-hmm. But that was a lot of the issue too. It was. Yeah. Great. We found out because with my job, every year we would change shifts, and that particular year I had to go to graveyards because I'd been on evenings the year before, and 6 months before, and that did not work out, being a single parent, and that was horrible. So I didn't have a choice. So the working graveyards, you know, you're tired, you're exhausted, you know, I'm still a single parent, and I wasn't sleeping well. My body just didn't adjust to that well. And then, you know, we were together, and it was difficult. It really was.
Yeah. And so it was a thing, and I was just like, look, you know, I know we're here, but what I don't want to do is have us get married and this not ever change. Mm-hmm. I was like, because I don't want to be the person that I said I would never be. And I told her after we got married, because that was why, before we got married. Mm-hmm. And then she said, no, it's because of Graveyard. It'll change. It'll change. Mm-hmm. Okay, then we got married. Mm-hmm. Did it change?
Not really. Look, I'm sorry, but no, not really. Not really.
Yeah, it didn't change. And so, you know, I'm for the whole first 2 years, I'm talking her ear off. I'm begging. You know, I'm like, look,
trying
we
to
talk,
reason, trying to figure things out.
yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
And then I would even give these little veiled threats, and I'd be like, look, you know, you know, I'm asking you. What you don't want is when I stop asking. And she didn't say nothing, and then it went to, look, I'm asking. What you don't want is when I stop asking. And then she said something smart right after that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, here's why. Because when I stop asking, that means I fixed it. And my face changed. And I said, that means I fixed it. I'm not going to make you embarrassed. You ain't never going to know. But I fixed it. And I ain't asking no more. And she said, oh, okay, cool. Just like that.
Yeah, just like that.
So then we go through, and that's a whole nother podcast as to how we fix that. A whole nother episode. But one day, as I'm going on my spiritual journey, the Holy Spirit shows me that I was wrong for that. And I said, well, how was I wrong for that? And they said, because that's your wife. You love her, right? I was like, yeah, I love her. I said, well, that was a threat. And it wasn't necessarily a fair threat. It was justified in your mind, but I don't know how fair it was. You know, it's like, okay. And then it was like, and the biggest reason is what you don't realize that I'm showing you right now is the toll it's taken on your relationship. So the way I operate, whenever I realize that, you know, that when I get a revelation, I go immediately and make it right. So she was in bed, and it was after 9 o'clock. All you married couples and women who work,
yes,
you know what that means.
And it was after 9 o'clock, and I had to be up very, very early in the mornings. So I was like.
So she rolls over, what? And I go,
I'm so tired.
What? And I said, hey, I've been doing some thinking. She said, Sean, I cannot have one of those conversations right now. I got to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't do this if we did that. Because remember, her first thing was always no. So she responded to me, hey, with that line.
Right. Instead of, no, I can't have this conversation.
Right. And so, fellas, if your wife's first answer is no, then you got to, or like if she's automatically like giving you reasons why you can't talk about it or what she don't want to hear from you, this, that, and the other, then you have to take a breath and figure out what the next line of words are to diffuse. You can't take that as bait, because if you do, y'all gonna be fighting all the time. All the time. Especially if you got one like this. Y'all gonna be fighting all the time. So I told her, I said, hey, listen, I've been thinking. She goes, oh. I said, no, you're going to like this. I said, and you know what? I don't even want to have a discussion. I just want you to listen. Another pro tip.
I remember that.
Another pro tip. You take away all the pressure from them when you say, hey, I just want to share this with you. And that's it. I just want to let you know where I'm at. And she goes, okay. So I saw the body tense up. Because every time we do this, she ready. She fit for the fight. She fit for the fight. So I go, okay. I said, the Holy Spirit showed me that I'm wrong. So I need to ask you to forgive me. I said, please forgive me. And she said, for what? I said, because remember when I said I'm only going to ask so many times, and I'm not, and whenever I stop asking that I fixed it and I ain't going to make sense. She said, yeah, I remember that. I say, listen, I'm wrong for that. And I hope you know that I would never, ever do that. Ever. And I need you to forgive me for even saying that and introducing that, because the Holy Spirit showed me that I put a lot of pressure on you. And even though I didn't physically see that he showed me spiritually that you were under a lot of pressure. I said, and I need you to please forgive me and understand that that's not applicable anymore.
Right.
And then she started crying. And I said, why are you crying? And then you said,
I said,
you don't remember what you said?
And I mean, it's been so much
All
stuff.
these pivotal moments for me, and she don't remember none of this stuff.
It's been, man.
It's been so long.
It's been so long.
She's really good
ago.
about putting it in the sea of,
I do.
casting in the sea
I
of
do.
forgetfulness.
I do.
You know?
Once it's dealt with.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's like it
gone.
never happened for her.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
And that's something that's happened within the last several years because
Last 2 decades.
because I was a person that held on to stuff like held on.
Kung Fu grip.
I could really like shut down and not deal with you. You know what I'm saying? And I was a person that held like grudges. Like once you know, do stuff and say things. Yeah.
And it's we don't go back.
And don't go back. No.
We don't go
We
back.
don't go back.
So you told me you started crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Baby, why you crying?" And you said, "Because you're right. There was a lot of pressure. It's so," and then you was like, "It's so much pressure."
Mm-hmm.
And the funny person to me wanted to be like, No, don't talk. You didn't want to talk about it. But of course, I didn't want to get slapped either.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Because
and she don't slap me, y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
No,
know.
we don't play like that.
We don't play like that. But I said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "Because
It was a
you
lot of
don't
pressure.
understand how much pressure that put me in."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, that's why I'm talking to you today, because all that pressure is gone now.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's not in our vernacular. It's not hanging over your head.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're dealing with anymore." And she said, "Thank you."
Yep.
And then I kissed.
And what that allowed, it allowed me to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? It really allowed me to figure things out, to kind of open up and try to really figure things out, and why, number one, I was feeling all the pressures, and why I was not as attentive as I should have been, and all that. So that apology allowed me to start the process of figuring it out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That blessed me. It really did.
Yeah, so fellas, saying I'm sorry and taking ownership of your role in the relationship, even though your role is just trying to love your wife, the pressure you put by saying stuff like I said, that it may work in the season, but manipulation only lasts for so long, and fear motivation only lasts for so long as well, because this is the same woman who said ain't no more babies coming out of here.
Right.
If you want one, go make another one. So, the fear motivation could have just came to a point she'd been like, well, look, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
That could have very well come out of her mouth.
Could have. Quite possibly.
Because when women came and asked you how you dealt with me being on the road and stuff like that, what'd you tell them?
Yeah. I told them, first of all, I have my own life. And, I have a life without him, even though we are married. When we met each other, he was an artist, and he was gone, and there are times where they're out of town and things like that. So I didn't have a problem when he left and went out for either a weekend, a week, 2 weeks. There were times where he was going 3 weeks at a time, and I had my own life, so I held it down here.
But girl, I mean, you ain't worried about them other women?
No, I wasn't worried about that. No, I didn't. I could not worry about that. Could not, because I would drive myself nuts.
You remember what you tell them? Like if a woman asked you, well, girl, what do you say about that? And you would say, you don't remember that either. See, forgetfulness. Wow.
No.
Man gonna do what a man gonna do.
Exactly.
I look good.
Yeah, I look good being home.
See, I'm trying to get you to give the color. Give the color commentary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I look good being at home, worried about what he's doing. And I just couldn't, because I had things to do here. I couldn't worry about what he was doing out there. And he never gave me a reason to be here with the shakes, wondering about what he was doing. He just never gave me a reason to. So I trusted him, and he was going to work like I went to work every day. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have a problem with it, but I just had to make, people who would ask me about that, because that was the number one thing, because they knew he was an artist. And that was their number one question. How do you handle that? Because he's gone a lot. I live my life. He's working. You know what I'm saying? He's not like he's just going out, just playing around. He's working. That's what he does. That is his career. And I have my own career. So I didn't worry about that.
And tell the truth. A lot of times you were like, and I get a break.
Oh, yeah, I did. But it wasn't that before you were going like, yeah, he's gone for a week. I get a break. No.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
It was a break, but I didn't think about it really. I was here living and holding it down. Holding it down. I did.
Yeah. You missed me pawning on you. How you say pawning all over?
I did.
But you missed that while I was gone?
I did. Yeah.
That's another question. Ladies, I want to ask that question. How come when you got a man who you can answer this question.
What?
I don't know, you might be able to. How come when you got a man who just don't want to do nothing but just like be close to you, want to touch you, want to kiss on you, stuff like that, how come it's always opposite? Like the women who got that don't want it, and the ones who don't got it, don't have it, want it?
It seems that way. But we're talking about experiences. We're talking about, like you were talking about, growing up. I didn't grow up in a home where they were all over you and hugging and kissing on you and all that other kind of stuff. I didn't see that with my parents. So I grew up, not thinking that, I loved it, but really, to be honest, at times, I think because I didn't see it and I didn't experience it at home, I think it kind of made me uncomfortable, even though I loved you.
It absolutely made you uncomfortable, because anytime I do this, you got the kung fu.
But when you don't grow up with that, when you don't grow up with that, it's just funny. But like we were talking in the other podcast about bringing trauma in, that's not trauma. But if you've lived,
it's a form,
childhood,
it's a form of trauma.
Different.
I think it's a form of trauma you're experiencing whenever I come and wanting to be emotional. Whenever in your that's the thing about asking about the upbringing, and finding out about the upbringing, because you didn't grow up in a house where everybody was lovey-dovey.
No, we knew we were loved and didn't doubt that, but did not grow up. My parents, they still married. And they still married.
How many
They've been
years?
married 59 years.
59 years, man.
But we didn't grow up in that kind of environment in the home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
mine wasn't like that either.
Which is remarkable, because with you being that person. You know what I'm saying? It really is, to say the way that you grew up. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know.
Yeah, there was some affection in the house.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a lot. And like I said, maybe because I understand that, we've got to, in a relationship, you got to have that contact going, because it's important. It's important because it endears you to each other.
But I didn't know, and it's so funny because I didn't even know what I was missing, because when you grow up not having something, you don't know that you're missing anything.
What you never had,
right. That's true. Come on, son. Now.
Oh, rest your soul. You can fool a few.
It's true.
True. Man. I'm telling you, that was a big thing. So we're still talking about me and my experiences. We're also still piggybacking on the other ones about having these conversations beforehand, because to my credit, I had the conversation with her over and over and over, because whenever we were kicking it, when we were just kicking it in groups, we talked about what we liked and what we didn't like, and because those conversations happened.
Right.
And I was very clear. I said, I like kissing, hugging, I like touching a lot.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like Vicious rapped on my song. I didn't even tell him, and he did. I said, "Oh, baby, look, see, even Vicious know. Yep. But I said I just love kids. I said I could just sit there and I said, and then with those beautiful lips you got, I said, ooh, I could just nibble.
Tell me that all the time.
I could just nibble on them things.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, oh, cool. And then we got married. She's like, get away from me.
I didn't say get away from me.
I go to she. I'm like, man, where did you learn these moves, man?
It is so funny.
You know that meme was like,
yep.
Yeah. Oh man, he was killing it. So anyway, so we finally got to that point, and again, everything we're telling y'all, we're being very transparent. We still working through these things.
Yes, we are.
You know, because I still, I just be playing sometime. I reach out to just to see if she gonna move.
He tests me, y'all. He gives me tests.
I test on a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
You know, I used to come behind her wanting to do the Janet Jackson. You know what I'm talking about? The Janet Jackson picture, the photo of Janet. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's behind it, you can't see him, but you can see his hand. I just be wanting to come behind and hug her. And every time I come behind her, when I come, and if I put my see, I'm just talking about it. She did it.
No, I'm just showing them how I did.
Yeah. So like I come behind her and I go and put my chin on her shoulder. I was like, I'll be like, man, what? You know what I'm saying? I put my hands around it. She went, wah. I come, she wah. And I come here and she's wah. Yep. I'm like, well, show me where you want to put my hands.
Yep.
And she was like, I was like, oh, I see where this is going.
You have me being silly on here.
Yeah, because they need to know. You know, they need to know that we have a great life. We're very clear about who we are, and who we've been. Mm-hmm. You know, and we're clear about where we're going, because it's always been, you know, like I said, my initiative to make sure that we're in a very loving, communicative relationship, because I understand that the number one thing in a relationship is communication, and I think we can go out on this point. So fellas, takeaways from this. Ladies, takeaway from this. Fellas, the takeaway is be clear about your intentions. If you're clear about your intentions, because I believe most men want to be in relationships. They want to be in a solid relationships. They've just been in so many bad ones that they don't know how a good one looks. So be clear about what you want, and ladies, be open whenever he wants to be clear, and you be clear. Don't tell him something that you know you don't mean, hoping that you can change him, because like we talked about in the first one, whenever she said she didn't want to have no more kids, and she said, if you want some, go make one. Right. I thought that was negotiable.
He did, and I was up front. I mean, I don't know how many ways I could have said it, but he was holding out hope. You know,
I kept hope alive.
He kept hope alive. Bless his heart.
Yeah, man, I kept hope alive, man. I was like, man, and then we got closer to 40 and closer to 40. Then we hit 40.
Think about it. I was already close to 40 and 36.
I know. I thought I had 2 years where I could put. Hey, I thought 2 years we can knock you up in a couple of years, something like that. You were like,
no, sir. Negative.
You were like, nope. I told you. I was like, man. No. So I went in thinking I could change that.
He did.
Because intellectually thought that the reason that it wasn't cool was because the situations weren't right. Nothing was right about it. You know, it was if she was doing it solo and she didn't want to do it again, had a bad experience all the way around.
I did.
She's like, no. The actual physical pregnancy.
Yeah. The actual physical pregnancy, that was bad. But I just didn't want it.
Yeah, she didn't want to repeat that.
I just didn't want to repeat that.
So dudes, be upfront about who you are, what you want. Ladies, reciprocate. Be upfront. You got to have this communication and and this doesn't have to be like a meeting where you have this conversation. No. We were in groups, and we were in the groups talking about it, and we were saying what our must-haves and what our deal breakers, absolute deal breakers were in the conversation. So we had a basis of relationship knowledge whenever we got together to start kicking it. We knew about who each other were. I knew she was a no-nonsense person, and she didn't take no stuff. Mm-hmm. And she knew that I was very serious, and that I was very loving, and that I wanted to, that I was going to want to be, huggy, touchy, feely. Mm-hmm. She knew that.
I knew that.
And she felt like she could try it, but then when she tried it, she didn't like it. But she didn't know how to say she didn't like it. And she knew that saying she didn't like it was going to be a deal breaker. Mm-hmm. So she didn't say nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
so y'all got to be upfront, because if that would have been something that I could not work on accepting and waiting for her to change and morph into 22, almost 23 years later, then, you know, that would have been a deal breaker for me.
Right.
You know, but if I would have known that going in, then I could have had a better basis of knowledge for trying to figure out how to get us through that. Or saying, well, that's a deal breaker for me. I'm going to walk away. You know.
Yep.
And so that's one thing. Be upfront, communicate who you are and what your expectations are and what your absolute deal breakers are. You got to do that. The other thing is be clear on your expectation in the sex area. Because what I can say, just being a relationship watcher all these years, is that, and being in these relationships, is that when sex is good or okay, it is 5% of a relationship. But when it is not good, or there's a problem, or there's a lack, or there's something, or it's not on an acceptable basis for both parties, it becomes 95% of your relationship. It will enter into every argument, every conversation, every good experience, every bad experience.
Yes.
It will be right there,
Yes.
peppering how you relate to each other. Because
Absolutely.
with the person in the relationship who wants it more than the other one, you know, that person is on edge all the time. You know, and the one who's not is at peace and don't realize that them being at peace is pissing the other person off. You know, so y'all got to really talk about that and have a really good dialogue about that. We'll talk about that in another podcast.
And I would suggest that you don't feel bad about
the way you feel.
You know, I think that I spent a lot of time feeling bad about the way I felt about certain things. And so, I don't know, I just was having this inner fight and turmoil inside, because I knew that I shouldn't feel that way, but I did.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so I had to figure things out. I had to, you know, figure out the whys. And first of all, you have to really want to know the whys. You really have to want to know. That's the only way that you're going to get past things, you know.
And you didn't want to know at first.
And I didn't want to know at first. No, I didn't. But like we were talking about, you know, we've said, you know, that God and you know, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, it's been like pivotal. That relationship has been pivotal. And I was fearful of knowing, I think.
Because you didn't know what that meant.
Yes, I didn't know what that meant. And so I just, you know, I gave it to God, and I let him do like a surgery, because it was painful. there were times where it was really, really painful, you know.
And because we have that third party involved in our relationship, he was already working on me as well to be more to give more grace in that area.
Right.
Because I think you can tell me, I think that I've always been very attentive. I think I've always been very always trying to fix it and figure out a path to the compromise.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always been really open about that, and not necessarily forceful about it, but really wanting to have the dialogue, right?
Right.
But back then you didn't want to have any dialogue.
Oh no. Because you know, I just knew something wasn't right. I knew that my feelings about certain things was just really, I'm not going to say weird. It's just the way that I felt. But finding out wanting to know the whys, I knew that would be a deep dive. And at the time, I just couldn't, I didn't want to do it. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
So we'll
come back to that. So communication is set the expectation level. And then for me, like I said, doing the filter through that, I told you I wanted to be the exact opposite. My dad was really playful with my mom, so that's something that I learned was cool, because I watched how it made her smile.
Yeah.
Right. So I watched those things, and the other things that he did that didn't make her smile, I didn't do those things.
Right.
And I stayed away from those things as far as possible. Right. And so when I come into this relationship, I just want it to be everything. And, and that was a lot of pressure. So again, we'll talk about we'll do one where what happens when the expectation that you set and that you're going for is the thing that's breaking down your relationship.
Ooh. Okay.
Joel, make a note because I'm not going to remember that. Yeah, that's going to be one. What happens, because my expectation was that once we get married, we're going to be cool. She's going to be my all in all, all in all. And then she's like, that's too much pressure. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Get that away from me.
Like,
I told you I seen too many of those things today. I saw 50 today, and this is 51. And I do not want to see 51 today. Not that I was going around showing my junk. I'm just saying, just the inference that I was wanting my junk to be involved in a relationship was enough for her to be like, no, get away from me. So we'll talk about that. So this is the Better Marriage Daily Podcast, where we try to give you little tips to learn how to love each other in spite of each other. So until next time, I'm Sean.
And I'm V.
And we'll see you.